Welcome, Brantly, to the Wholesome Crypto podcast. Thank you for joining me here today. You're coming in from around Greenville, South Carolina, and yeah,
Correct.
thank you for coming on. I'd love to learn more about what you're doing now, and also what you've been doing before crypto. So, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
So for those that don't know Brantly, he's currently the director of operations for ENS Domains. And before we get into all that fun stuff, let's learn a little bit about what you were doing before you even heard about Bitcoin and crypto in general.
Of course, and please call me Brantly.eth.
Brantly.eth only. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, just like my background, like my pre-crypto background, how I got into crypto.
Yep.
Yeah, so I grew up in Oregon. I went to college in Illinois. I got a degree in philosophy. Then I went up to then I got a master's degree in systematic theology. I did some doctoral work in moral theology and ethics. I'm married. I have 6 kids.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. We currently live in South Carolina. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2013. So it's very common that during bull runs that kind of hits the news, there's hype, and there's like a whole new class of people like come into the space. Like 2013, 2017, now 2021.
Yep.
So I heard about it in 2013, early there, started following it. I'd say early 2015, I kind of had like a conversion moment on it. Like it became a full-time passion. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to be huge.
Were you big into tech at all though, or you just kind of like had a spark, like, okay, decentralization is what's going to be needed for the world?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been interested in tech. I mean, I'd say I've always kind of interested in tech. Mm-hmm. I actually started an online publishing or like media brand, which I then sold to another company.
Okay.
So I was always very interested in tech and things like that. I remember hearing about Bitcoin and then following it and be very intrigued by it. And then the Ed Snowden stuff happened also in like 2014, 2015. I was like thinking about that a lot. And I don't know, just a lot of things came together. And then, like in early 2015, it like I said, that was like the conversion to full-time passion moment. And since then, it's just been my full-time, very passionate interest. This is very common, I think, for people. Because once they realize that blockchain technology, it's a revolution in computer science. Like it's a computer science breakthrough that enables things that people thought were previously impossible, and is going to impact so many things. Anyway, so I got it early 2015. Then Ethereum launched, of course, that summer. I didn't really get it.
I mean, it's tough. It's a long white paper to read, and it's just Bitcoin's taking the lead, and you're thinking is just another hard fork, another coin that's being just thrown into the market. What is Ethereum?
Exactly, and up until that point, people have to understand Bitcoin was like 90% of the space.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was virtually the only thing that had anything real or interesting going on. And there was a lot of altcoins. Altcoin like made sense as a term because it really was like there's Bitcoin and a bunch of things that are basically copies of Bitcoin that aren't really doing anything that interesting. It wasn't clear like is Ethereum just going to be some vaporware failed altcoin type thing. Anyway, in early 2016, so like I didn't get in the pre-sale. I remember when Ether was less than $1, but I didn't get it. Then in early 2016, there was the launch of the DAO, and I actually bought my first Ether so that I could get into the DAO. If people don't know, the DAO was one of the first like real dApps, like serious dApps on Ethereum. And it crashed and burned terribly, and it led to it was so bad it actually led to trying to fix the problems, led to a chain split, and that's why Ethereum Classic exists. That's a whole nother story.
Yep, I remember that story. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, did you invest in the DAO?
I didn't invest in the DAO, but I think I had some Ethereum just because I was curious, and I had like a couple bucks.
Yeah. So, but I was just getting deeper into the Ethereum space. There was also the block size limit wars were going on in Bitcoin. We don't need to hash that out, but that was so bitter and terrible. I think the group that won out in that group, I think, was bad for Bitcoin. Anyway, it kind of just pushed me more towards the Ethereum space. There was a big exodus, really a brain drain of people, I'd say in like 2015, 2016, 2017, from like a lot of OG
Yep.
Bitcoiners leaving for the Ethereum space. That's another story. Um, and then I'd say, yeah, and then 2017 happened, and I've been really just mostly focused on Ethereum since then. I still hold some Bitcoin. I'm not
Hmm.
anti-Bitcoin. I just think it's sort of uninteresting, and that nearly all the innovation in the space now is in the Ethereum space. And also, this is another key thing for people to understand. This idea that like Bitcoin is just like it's just digital gold, and you just hodl it and that's it. That is like a new version, idea of Bitcoin. That was not the idea. That's not the Bitcoin in the white paper. That's not the Bitcoin early Bitcoin. For years, that was not the vision.
Hmm.
That was not the vision that excited me. And in fact, people were saying, "Oh, we're going to do smart contracts." The term people used then was programmable money.
Yeah.
Pre Ethereum, with Bitcoin, this was the excitement thing. People talked about even DAOs and NFTs and smart contracts. They used some different terms, but it was all there. But it was just years of stagnation of none of these things happening. And then Ethereum was like another path saying, hey, why don't we have a blockchain that's a general purpose DApp platform? Seems obvious now, but it's not obvious at the time. It was really a brilliant breakthrough from Vitalik Buterin.
Hmm.
And then now we've had this explosion of all these things finally happening, but on Ethereum. And then Bitcoin's kind of become increasingly narrow. If it's just like this digital gold. I just want people to know that has been a massive culture shift that's happened just in the last couple of years.
And during that time, were you just like seeing it as it was happening and thinking to yourself, oh, this is all making sense just the way that it was being planned through with Ethereum, or just kind of like a hindsight, oh, like what happened back in 2017 and 2013 kind of cleared up now and it all kind of makes sense now?
I mean, I saw it in real time. I mean, we don't need to get into details to be boring, but like the block size limit wars of Bitcoin of 2015, 2016, 2017,
Hmm.
like you could see this happening in real time. In any event, so I was focused more on the Ethereum space. This is where all the innovations have been happening for years now at this point. In 2017, I created a website called Flipping Watch,
Hmm.
which compared Bitcoin and Ethereum metrics on the flipping. And Ethereum actually came very close to flipping Bitcoin in June 2017. It got to 85% of its market cap, which was close. But then it didn't. It became what people called the floppening. It didn't happen.
People were so excited for that. I remember that happening. So many memes going on that it's happening.
Right. And it got close, but it didn't
Yeah.
happen. In 2018, I was kind of involved in some smaller projects here and there. But then in January 2019, I joined the core ENS team, and I've been there now, full time for almost 3 years. It's amazing how quickly it's gone
Yeah,
by.
especially in crypto time, 3 years is a lot. It's not. It takes a lot of that out of you too. And then, yeah, so you're progressing, with Ethereum. You're kind of doing your own projects just to get your foot in the space. How did you end up speaking with ENS Domains? How did you end up working with them? And was that kind of like your goal? Did you know that this was needed in the space and this is what you wanted to work on, or kind of fell in your lap?
Yeah, so ENS launched early 2017, and I remember when it launched. Nick Johnson, who's the creator of ENS and the lead dev, um, he started working on it in 2016, and I actually remember people talking about it. I was so excited about it, and they actually had an aborted launch in March 2017 because there was a bug in the core contract. But then in or in a key contract, but then it launched for realsies in May 2017, and I was right there, and I got names. I got Brantly.eth very early on as soon as it was available, and I was like, "This is so important. This is so revolutionary." I was so excited about it. And then, but Nick and the other people, this was like a side project of people at the Ethereum Foundation. He was at the EF. He was on the Geth team.
Wow.
And so, but ENS was very successful. Had a lot of excitement. Then in 2018, the EF said, "Hey, Nick, why don't we give you a grant and you leave and start your own organization? Really, just focus full time on ENS. This needs to be built out." So he did that summer, and I joined then a few months after that. It was just kind of building a team to like, hey, let's like really make this into something.
That's incredible.
And yeah,
That's incredible. And there's so much going on now too, because I remember you just tweeted about signing in with Ethereum. That's finally coming up.
yes,
And it's super exciting for the whole entire internet and Web3 applications, being able to just do a single sign-on with Ethereum and your own Brantly.eth address.
yes,
Uh, and I mean, there's so much more to go. And just to take it back a little bit, you know, I believe that you come with like a Catholic faith too, and you really
correct. I am a Catholic.
and you associate a lot of like cryptocurrency and blockchain, that there's like a need for it in Catholicism. So I also
Of course. Are you Catholic?
I was raised Catholic, but I'm not now. I'm I guess atheist.
I was raised Catholic. This is what you hear.
Yeah.
It's right. I was not raised Catholic, actually. My wife and I are both adult converts.
Okay.
There's that old, there's the old phrase, Marshall McLuhan, actually, the famous media critic, media ecology guy. He was also an adult convert. And he would tell people, he'd say, "Oh, you're Catholic?" He'd be like, "Yeah, I'm the worst kind. I'm a convert."
Oh man, it's like probably a huge stigma around that too, but it's all for me. It's all, as long as you're a good person doing something good for the world and good to society. It's the most important thing. So yeah, I mean, I read an article about you that you wrote that how Catholicism should really take Bitcoin seriously. I'm kind of wondering what made you, think in terms of, all right, cryptocurrency, Catholicism, they need to unite.
Of course. Yeah, so I think that article I wrote in fall 2015 of like, here's ideas. Of course, the basic ideas are all accurate today, although now it honestly would all be on Ethereum. But the basic ideas, I think, are still stand. Yeah, I mean, so blockchain technology it's a technology. It's a revolutionary technology, and it's going to impact, I think, all aspects of life. It's like the internet, itself. Like, it's not like, oh, there's the internet niche. Like, no, everybody uses the internet. Every single organization on the planet uses the internet in some way, and it's like, oh, I don't. It's like saying, like, oh, I don't use telephones. Like, yeah, of course you use telephones. It's that type of technology, and so it will dramatically impact the church. And I think the church actually is particularly poised to benefit, because the church is a trans-jurisdictional, international, organization. And blockchain technology is all about that. I mean, just let's say from a finance perspective, the finance use case. I mean, that the church is constantly interacting in different jurisdictions and currencies and bank accounts and wiring this back and forth, blah, blah, blah. Well, with cryptocurrency, I mean, that simplifies that entirely.
And transparency too with it, which is also super important.
Yeah, it's extremely important. In fact, we need that in the church. I mean, there's corruption, just like in any organization, a big organization. So there's transparency. But there's other things too, like, I've had this idea of like sacramental records and things like this could use this. That's very important. Right now, the church just literally uses handwritten books at parishes, which is fine. I mean, it works.
Yeah, it's a ledger.
But we can improve things, right?
Yeah. Wow. So did anyone, was someone at the church maybe like showing you, hey, this is blockchain and crypto, or were you the one just leading the charge at your church saying, hey, this is what we should adopt, this is what we should look into, this is how we should see the future if we're going to grow with the times?
No, I just think it. I mean, most people in the church, just like most people in the world, have no clue. But yeah, I mean, people will adopt it eventually.
That's wild. And then, that's awesome. And then, all right, so then you're continuing on doing what you're doing with the church, continuing writing articles. You're in ENS Domains. What do you do for fun? Your hobbies? Like, how do you spend your time away from blockchain?
Well, I
Six
make
kids.
kids with my wife. That's what we do when we're bored. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think crypto's fun. And then, I don't know. I play with my kids, hang out with friends. I'm like the weird crypto person, of course.
I think I am too. It's okay. Everyone is.
I don't know. My wife and I would go out on dates.
Nice.
And, I go out with friends. I don't know.
Cool.
But crypto, to me, crypto isn't just like a job. Like I said, it's like a full-time passion. It's like this is what excites me and what I think is worth spending my time on. So I'm thinking about it probably kind of all the time.
That makes sense. And then the whole industry is pretty, I guess, I don't know if diverse is the right word, but it's a lot of noise, to deal with. And yeah, again, I see in your tweets and your posts and a lot of back and forth between different people and conversations. There is still some type of mental break needed at times. And
Oh, of course, yeah.
And I don't think you're the type of person who even cares about the price of Ethereum or where it's going in terms of trading. I mean, obviously it's important to you because it is your livelihood, but again,
yeah, of course, I'd say I'm a long-term guy.
Mm-hmm.
So in the sense that, of course, I care about price. Of course, I can make money in crypto and things like this. That is a motivating force. But it's more than that. In that, I think I'm in this for the long term. I think this technology inspires me, and building out the new world over many years, over a long time horizon. That is where I'm at mentally. That's what I'm doing.
Just living it up, making sure you keep it moving. And is there, for you, is it just always Web3 as your main focus? Is there any other projects you have in mind that you're interested in seeing develop, or anything that someone else is doing that you're really respecting and excited to see grow?
Oh yeah, I mean, so first off, different people use terms differently. When I say Web3, I mean that's to me it's like a synonym for crypto or
Mm-hmm.
blockchain. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's tons of things I think are great. I mean, all of DeFi is a spectacular achievement thus far that I think is only going to a million X from here. I mean, it's like incredible.
Yeah. I love those. Sorry,
Unis,
go ahead.
yeah. Well, like Uniswap has not I guess literally a million X, but Uniswap has I don't know 250,000 monthly active users. I mean, it's that's nothing. But Uniswap is a spectacular achievement. I have mad respect for Hayden Adams and the whole team there. But again, it's you have to have context here. People have to know that up until just a year or two ago,
Mm-hmm.
the conventional wisdom was even DEXs will never work.
I remember a lot of DEX
Not
startups trying to accomplish what Uniswap is trying to accomplish. But the thing is, I think the big difference was I don't think they were just trying to accomplish Ethereum only. They were trying to accomplish multi-chain blockchains right from the get-go.
Yeah, there's that, and just people thought, oh, with gas costs and with different order book problems, or I mean, there's different approaches, and just people thought there were strong arguments that DEXs will never actually catch on Ethereum, and the fact that Uniswap, represented this technological breakthrough in an approach, which has now been spectacularly successful, and I have mad respect for that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the whole NFT art profile pic, that space is incredible. And yeah, I mean, and that's what makes me so bullish about crypto and Ethereum specifically, is that it's not just there's one killer use case. There's a huge number of massive killer use cases. They're all happening at the same time. It's just just blockchain technology as a currency, the most basic original bread and butter use
Mm-hmm.
case. That itself is insanely revolutionary, in human history. Okay. And then now you throw in DeFi, which is going to replace the entire financial sector, which, by the way, if you're not in finance, I didn't know this because I wasn't in finance, but I've learned finance is a much, 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 much bigger industry than most people realize, right? So that's huge.
In terms of money,
then,
dollar value?
Yeah, the dollar
Mm-hmm.
value, the amounts that we're talking about and what goes on in finance is really, really, really big.
Yeah.
And then with NFTs, I think, and that's just finance, which is massive. And you have NFTs, which I think are going to replace all of property in the universe, is going to ultimately be NFT'd. And I think that the art NFT and profile pic NFT thing is the first killer use case for that, because it's simplest, because it's digitally native. It's easy to see and understand.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that's huge. And then ENS, right? So the project I'm working on, I think it's it has a shot at being the identity layer of the world, in the sense that it is the neutral identity layer. Everybody will have an ENS name, and that is their username and profile for the internet. I think that's possible. And like that, again, by itself, humongous.
And then I guess as the director of operations, what is your day-to-day for ENS? Like what's it look like?
Yeah, I mean, so personally, I mean, I get up, I grab my phone, tons of notifications.
Classic, yeah.
Got it, see what's important, what's not important. I get to my desk in my office here. It's just a bedroom in our house that I use as my.
Do you like working from home?
Oh yeah, I've been doing it actually since 2012, like before crypto, and can't go back.
Yeah, I mean, I started working from home because of COVID, but yeah, I don't want to go back either.
Then yeah, I mean, so what I do, I mean, like I'm on Twitter a lot. I think is extremely important because that's where the conversation's happening. What are people saying? What's going on? What are you learning? And then we can also tell our own story, and I can put out my own ideas. And when you put out an idea, maybe that inspires someone else, and then like something happens because of that. You have to get your ideas out there. Like signing with Ethereum is a great example of this. I mean, the history there is that signing with Ethereum, that term, I coined that term a few months ago, but the practical thing, the idea of you authenticate with your Ethereum private key, and then maybe like use your ENS name as your username and profile, portable for every dApp. That was just happening organically in the Web3 space.
Yeah.
And there was no standard. People just knew you could do this, and they were just having all their own bespoke implementations of this. And it's become a main thing in Web3. And I just sort of like, other people saw this too, and we're kind of talking about it. I was thinking about it, and I just coined the term sign with Ethereum. Just made sense to me. And I did a Twitter thread in June of just a few months ago, basically saying, here's what's happening in Web3. Here's why I think this matters. Here's the implications for this. I think this is actually going to be used throughout the whole internet and Web2 as well. Like, here's what's possible. Here's what I see. And that, just put that out there. That thread just kind of struck a chord. People are like, yes, this is what's going on, or this is a good explanation or something. It kind of inspired people. And it's funny, Vitalik Buterin actually reached out to me.
How'd that go?
And he was like, hey, I saw your thread. My first response was actually like, how do I know this is really Vitalik? Like, this is like some scammer.
That's true. You don't know
and
until the check mark.
I asked for proofs that it was him, and it wasn't. And he was like, I've been thinking the same thing, but we need to like standardize this. So after some back and forth with him, me, and the EF and other people, we eventually decided to co-sponsor an RFP, a request for proposals, from the EF and ENS, basically to find somebody to like just lead a standardization effort. And there were a lot of great candidates, but we ended up choosing the people at Spruce ID, okay. Wayne and Rocco, who are great. And really what they're doing is they're just like surveying what are current practices, and then standardizing best practices with public comments. Then also, this is getting a little technical, but making an OAuth implementation and JavaScript library to make it easy, particularly for like Web2 services, to add this. And we're almost done with it.
Nice.
But this is all just an example of like, it's just because someone was out there talking about it on Twitter, and then that got other people excited and people started to coordinate. Like, Twitter to me is not like a joke. Twitter is like, that is where the industry comes to talk, and that is where things can get organized and things can happen.
Yeah, that's the thing, is Twitter is so huge, and crypto Twitter is its own term. But I'm seeing so much effort towards a decentralized social media that's not Twitter anymore, and I'm wondering, at what point, or are we even trying to move off of Twitter, or are people trying to find a different solution, or is Twitter's pretty crypto friendly, especially with Jack Dorsey embracing Bitcoin as a tipping service, and I think he's also embracing Ethereum. But where do you see like that happening? Right now it's an industry standard, but eventually things change.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone would agree it'd be great to have a Web3 native decentralized social network or something. It's funny, the crypto community first talked on bitcointalk.org.
Yeah, I remember that Bitcoin Talk forum.
Yeah, which still exists. And it's funny, guys, just if you're listening, you can go to bitcointalk.org and read the first posts going back to the very beginning of Bitcoin, and read like Satoshi seeing him interact with people. It's funny. You could also read the comments on the initial email list that he sent out the Bitcoin white paper to, 2008 online. You can find that online. And a funny thing is just the side comments is that many of the issues like we're even still debating and like working out, they were all there at the beginning. The smart people saw, oh yeah, well, how do you scale this?
Yeah.
And like there was debate about, and like we're still figuring out how to scale blockchains. But that's nice. Yeah, there was bitcointalk.org. Then everything kind of moved to Reddit for a couple years. And then the last like 2 years or so, it's like all moved to Twitter. And yeah, I'd say we want to have a native Web3 thing. It's just, that's a very hard problem to solve. And I think it will get solved eventually, but over time, and I think just the pieces need to be built. So like the way I think about it, it's not like, oh, you just need to build a Web3 or a decentralized social network. Really, that's like 100 different problems. And each of those, like to try to solve all of those problems on your own is going to be like nearly impossible, like nearly no chance of success. But what's happening is those pieces are being solved individually. And then when you get a critical mass of those things solved, then you'll be able to combine them together into something. So for example, like ENS is a very basic identity system. Like, so I view ENS as like one primitive of a future decentralized social network.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing about using Ethereum too, is that everyone's building their own type of solution and they can all talk to each other without asking for permission. Like if ENS wants to talk to some other platform trying to create a social media event, great, ENS can single sign on to that social media network.
Exactly.
And yeah, I think people are always, especially with crypto, everything moving so fast, people are so quick to want more and more and question more and more. And people are still developing. Human beings still need time to develop and work and think things through. And that's why it's, so amazing what you're doing. And especially since it's been 3 years, yeah, it's a long time. And look how far we've come.
Yes.
So then, you're currently still developing ENS domains. You're reading a lot about what's going on online. Always people asking for more or less. What is one of your crypto pet peeves? What's bothering you in the crypto industry now?
Crypto pet peeves. Yep. Oh yeah, I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, there's things like a lot of people who don't understand internet naming and don't understand ENS come to us and say, hey, I've got a really smart idea. Why don't we just make a copy of ENS but on a different chain? And it's like, I understand why people think it's there's like rookie mistake type things that like seem obvious if you have a surface level understanding of things. That's a little annoying. Nice. No, I mean, ENS we view it as it is the blockchain based internet naming system, which extends DNS and I think is going to be bigger than DNS. And there's little value to just having 100 copies of it in all these different places. And ENS, of course, supports the addresses for all blockchains and things like this anyway. So for simplified crypto payments, it's unnecessary. That's something that comes up a lot. Another funny thing that comes up, so I've interacted with a lot of people in the space, a lot of different projects. And there are projects that I would say are truly Web3 projects, but that like understand Web3. They have a Web3 culture. They're operating in a way that makes sense with Web3. And then there are projects that are like basically like Web2 projects.
Okay.
That like have Web3 sprinkled on or something.
What's a Web3 culture? How do you define that?
You're open, you're transparent, you're community based.
Okay.
As opposed to Web 2, which is like we're closed, we're secrets, we're like marketing based or something.
A lot of crypto projects are marketing based, which is kind of insane.
It's not that moral marketing is bad, but
no.
There are projects that think professionalizing a Web3 project means basically adopting Web 2 terminology and processes. Which I think is not true.
And that's the crazy thing I'm seeing now, especially with DeFi projects and exchanges, how they're supposed to be decentralized, yet they're still stopping certain territories from using their website. I'm like, okay, I get the front end part is a company, but that's not That's not what you're building it for.
Of course, yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean the protocols themselves have no censorship,
Mhm.
and what people just have to do is they have to use like a different front end, or either they're IPFS based, front ends and things like that. But yeah, it is unfortunate that they're located in the U.S. The U.S. has dumb laws, and then they have to, at least the UI that they control, they have to like censor things or something that's dumb.
Yeah, and I don't see the US kind of winning that fight, just because you can't stop the entire world. You're one powerful country, but you're still just not able to stop the whole world from trying to keep this going. Again, so you have all this going on in your life, and then outside of the crypto world and outside the crypto community, whose life have you changed or touched, or gave like a light bulb moment when you were trying to explain blockchain and cryptocurrencies to them?
I wish more people.
It's hard to do, right? In like real life, as people are asking questions and you just want to explain to them and shake them. It's all going to be the future. It's just how it is. And for me, I have a challenge trying to change minds sometimes, but eventually people figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say my dad, who's been a very successful, forward-thinking person really his whole life, even though he's now an elderly man. He also had a light bulb moment in 2015. So I have to give him a lot of credit. We've been able to actually kind of do a lot of this to get go through this together, which has been fun. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, I view crypto and blockchain stuff. It's a whole different paradigm of like how like people's mental models of how the world works and how the internet works doesn't work with blockchain technology,
Mm-hmm.
because just the way things are coordinated, the way systems work is different. So that becomes like a barrier to people. But it's okay. I mean, blockchain technology is going to eat the whole world, and
Yeah.
regardless, and it's okay. People come around eventually. It's fine.
Do you see it as a future where people will know that they're using blockchain, or it's going to become something where they just don't even know they're using? Kind of like the internet and cloud computing. People sometimes still don't understand that it's a data center of computers that hold your information. It's not an actual cloud or anything like that. So
Right, it's just an analogy.
how do you see that happening with blockchain technology? Do you think it's just going to become something no one even knows they're using?
It's a good question. I mean, there's two. That's a school of thought. I mean, I'd say there's two schools of thought. One is we need to make blockchain disappear, and that's been around for years. And maybe that's right. I mean, I'm sure that will have play out in some ways. And other people say no, we need to like lean into it and expose it, and need to teach users new concepts and ideas and things like this. And I will say that a principle that I've seen play out in Web3 over many years is that it's one thing to predict what you think will happen,
Mm-hmm.
and then another thing to see how things actually play out. And that it's very common that even what the smart people think is going to happen, and then how things play out, and like everyone's kind of surprised that things played out that way, and that's just how the world works, right? You need to actually see how it plays out in the market. That's why it's really important that things are exposed to the
Yeah.
market, because it reveals the truth. And so, like, I would say I've heard for many years this idea of we need to, like, for it to go mainstream, we need blockchain technology to like be completely hidden away. And there have been many, many products and attempts built around this, none of which I've really seen succeed. But it's funny that blockchain technology has grown and even greatly expanded and somewhat gone mainstream
Mm-hmm.
for things that are in some ways difficult, expensive to use, have tons of friction, tons of new
Yeah.
concepts like NFTs and like things like this. So I'll just say that idea makes sense to me, but what I've actually seen play out is not that. So I don't know.
Yeah, and especially now in the mainstream media, it's all about price of Bitcoin or price of Ethereum or price of this NFT sold for a couple $1 million. And I guess that's just what's attracting people. It's still the monetary value of it, the trading value of it versus the technical value of it. And that's like one of the things I keep trying to teach people the most is the technical part of it is the most valuable part of it. And don't worry about trading, just hold it and then, adopt the new tech that keeps coming in.
Yeah, I've been surprised. Like if somebody had said, I know a new product category. Let's sell these online digital items that represent digital art, and actually you don't get the copyright of the digital art. You don't get exclusive access to see the digital art. You just have this thing that somehow is associated with the digital art. And to get it, every single time you want to buy one or transfer one, it's going to cost like $100 in addition to whatever price you're doing. Oh, and by the way, these things are going to go for thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars. Oh, and you have to like hold it with a crypto wallet, and you have to have like a seed phrase, and there's all these things. Like if you were to describe that to somebody, it goes against all conventional wisdom. Every single piece of like Web 2 marketing, business, selling, consumer, smart conventional wisdom that would ever make sense ever. You'd be like, you are an insane person for thinking that. And yet that has been one of the biggest tech world explosions ever in the last year. Exactly what I just described.
And that's insane.
Isn't that
it's incredible and insane also to think about how people are open to using it. They're loving it, and it's just becoming more popular. And it's going to become more popular. But hopefully the new ETH2 layer will help out with gas fees at least.
Yes. I mean, I'll say with ENS, our thinking had for years been, so for most of ENS's history, gas fees were basically negligible. I mean, like you register an ENS name and there's the ENS protocol fee, which is like $5 or something like this. But the gas fee was like literally 1 cent.
I remember
That's most of ENS's history. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And the idea was, well, we knew Ethereum would get more expensive and, over time as it grew, and people are working on scaling and everything like this. But our thinking was always that as that got up to be even a few dollars, ENS registrations should go way down. Because what you're going to get a $5 name and pay a $100 fee or a $50 fee. I mean, it seems like insane. Here's the weird thing. In the last 6 months, as gas, the huge amount of growth in Ethereum, a huge amount of excitement, people using gas fees have gone through the roof. ENS names have actually massively exploded, and we've had the most registrations ever by like a long shot. We had a day a few weeks ago that had more registrations in that day than we had in like 10 of the last 24 months.
Wow. And
so, yeah.
Who was the most surprising, I guess, publicly announced .eth name to you?
I mean, Drake Bell from Drake and Josh, who has several million followers on Twitter now. Apparently, he did some bad sex stuff with people. I don't believe in that, but I mean, he has Drake Bell.eth. Ben Horowitz of Andreessen Horowitz, he's Ben Horowitz.eth on Twitter. A lot of people. It's amazing how far it's gone.
It's pretty amazing. You worked on it too. You're like, wow, people. I mean, it's surprising, but you also were kind of expecting it, right? Like, this is what I'm building it for. Like, this is the reason. But holy crap, it's actually coming in and happening.
Yeah, I mean, Budweiser bought
beer.eth
for $100,000, and they have that, and they have it set up with reverse resolution, as their ENS username. They don't show it on Twitter, but they have it on as their Web3 username set up. Same thing with Jay-Z. Jay-Z has Hove.eth and owns it and has it set up as his Web3 username.
Wow.
And it's incredible.
It is incredible.
Alexis Ohanian, who's the co-founder of Red, he has it. His wife, Serena Williams, they have SerenaWilliams.eth.
Did you buy all your kids a .eth address just in case?
I have my last name .eth, and my plan is to give them subdomains of them.
Ah, nice. Smart. Well, and before I let you go, one last question. I just want to know, what made you smile the most recently?
Smile the most?
Give you a nice ear-to-ear smile. You're just like, wow. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be crypto-related, but ending it off on a wholesome note.
Oh, I don't know. I had a hot date with my wife this last weekend.
Nice.
That was fun.
It's always good to have a date.
Took her downtown Greenville. Had a good time.
What restaurant did you go to?
We went to this great Thai place, Basil Thai.
I've been there.
And there was
Thai Basil.
Yeah, it was
next
great.
to the Clemson.
Thai Basil.
Next to the one Clemson building, right?
I don't remember. I just know it was in downtown
I gotcha.
Greenville.
Yeah, I went to school in Clemson for my MBA. So yeah, I was there a lot. I live downtown Greenville.
Very good.
Cool. Well, again, yeah, thank you so much, Brantly.eth. I really appreciate your time, and I hope the best for you and ENS.
Great. Thank you. Great chatting.
See you, everyone.